Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Hey, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. It's been a week.
It's been a week. Oh my gosh, it's already singing mode. You guys, we usually save singing mode for like the end of the week, which it is Friday. It's airing on Friday. Maybe you're in a singing mode too.
Yeah, like where you're just done with the week, the work week, and
Everything is a song.
dude, for real, everything does become a song. It's like I'm walking through the doors, and people are like, "Oh man!" Like if you could see us on like the end of our week, it's people would think that we have just absolutely lost our minds.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. And I feel that way, especially like in summer. Youth ministry is so busy in summer, and it's just like, what day is it? What is going on?
You know, it's funny.
What town are we in?
Is there's these moments in ministry where we look at each other and we go, just after this, like things are going to slow down, but it never does. But we repeat that phrase until we're dead.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like things are going to slow down. It's like, no, they're not.
Towards the end of the week, you end up singing it. Things are gonna slow down.
I think that's just our way of like comforting each other, like because we said like after Easter, things are gonna slow down. I feel like nothing has slowed down. Like
No, but that's okay. It's a fun roller coaster to be on.
100%.
It's really great.
Yeah.
The highs and lows are worth it. It's very, very cool.
Yeah. So today I wanted to talk to you about something that's like probably the most exciting aspect of what I am seeing come out of the youth ministry, just because I have a kid that's already in youth and I have one that's on the way that's headed into youth. And it's just an incredible thing that you started, and it's your influencer program.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Explain a little bit about what it is, just in a nutshell, so people can kind of grasp this concept of like what the influencer program is.
So whenever we first launched the influencers, I actually had a student who applied, and they said, I was really worried you were going to make us create social media accounts and like do a lot of content. I was like, no. Like, it's just the idea that you have influence, like you're a person of influence. And it's really a discipleship program more than anything. Leadership comes out of it. Like, there are skills that come out of it. But we have a syllabus that we work through, and that includes a study together, like an in-depth study. It includes responsibilities for them to step into, opportunities to give a shot, see, different directions the Lord may be working in their life.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the term, which is summer is the last part of the term. It's just a spring and summer term. But during the summer, they get handed responsibilities that are solely theirs to kind of manage and to take care of. And it's just been really cool to see the impact and truly the influence that peers can have on each other whenever they've spent the winter and spring being discipled and taught, like, hey, this is what it means to be a Christian. This is what it means to be like Christ. And then in the summer, they get to actually do it. Like, it's like, hey, this summer, we want you to lead in those ways. We want you to live in those ways. And we're going to see it. And sometimes that doesn't always go amazing. And sometimes it is beyond what we could even imagine. Yeah. It's been a really, really cool process.
Now, where did the idea for this come from? Was it something that you had maybe witnessed in another or was it something that you were just seeking, praying the Lord about, and like
Yeah.
He was just like drop this like awesome nugget, for you? So like, where did this idea for the influencer come from?
Um, a year or two ago, I got to share this from the main stage and share kind of where this came from, which was really special. But it started in my Walmart kiddie pool during COVID. Um, we were home, everyone was home. There was no getting together, there was no um, discipleship, in-person discipleship, the style that we've all known always, the
Yeah,
style that we saw Jesus do, like, hey, let's gather together.
yeah,
There was no more gathering together.
yeah,
And I can remember feeling really, really lost and almost grieved, like, and I'm sitting in my kiddie pool because I'm bougie like that. I like had to fight somebody in the Walmart parking lot to try to leave me alone. They tried to buy it for me for like twice what I paid, and they're like, "It's the last one." I said, "I have to get out of here." Turns out that kiddie pool was anointed. No, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm just like hanging out in my backyard, talking to God, like, what are we supposed to do? Like, you've called me to ministry. You've called me to help lead kids and disciple them, disciple their families, be a part of this. And now there's nothing.
yeah,
Like, now what? And I feel like it was in that grief that God met me there and was like, well, if you're so upset, do something about it. And that's one of my favorite things about God is that He actually does answer us, but it's not always the way that we would like, because He caused me to have to be stretched in that season to
yeah,
say, okay, well, then what is this? What is this thing you want me to do, God? And it started with just praying, considering my own past of discipleship, the adults who helped disciple me, what I had seen modeled. Um, and then finding resources that I believed in, not just any resource, not just any like Bible study on the Bible app, but stuff that I felt really took us to a place of deep discipleship, and challenged us. And then it came to, well, who are we doing this with? Like,
yeah,
what students are we doing this with? Because it's COVID. I can't do this with everybody. We're not all getting together. And so I leaned towards an application process because I wanted it to be, um, I felt like God wanted it to be something that people took seriously.
yeah,
And so in that, I said, okay, well, we'll set up an application process that includes a code of conduct. It includes expectations, reasons to be dropped from the program, all of those things.
yeah,
And we have students and parents review it and sign it before they even are considered as applicants. Our first year, we had 4 students apply, and it was a learning curve for all of us. We started on Zoom meetings, like everybody in early 2021,
yeah,
or whatever timeline that was. We started on Zoom meetings and then moved into like small, like, hey, meet at the house for lunch, that kind of stuff. And it just has really opened my eyes to the importance of discipleship.
yep,
Just even the conversations I have now. We have one student who's been with us all 3 terms, and they just shared with me a week or 2 ago their testimony. It was the first time I've ever heard them share like the highs and lows of where they had been, and this discipleship group was a part of the change that God made in their life.
yeah,
And so it was just so cool to hear that, and for them to say, hey, I want to share this with everybody this summer. Like, I want to share this with my peers and tell them what God's doing in my life. Okay, very cool. Like, let's do it. Um, it's just been really special. And I can't believe that it was I don't want to say it was simple because it's not simple. I mean, it's not easy, but it is simple.
yeah,
It's not easy, but it's simple. It's just spending time with people, telling your story, what God's doing in your life, asking them what's God doing in your life, helping them see those moments,
yeah,
and then sharing those with others and with each other, and like just diving deeper all the time, becoming more like Christ, which is not easy, but it's really not that complex.
yeah. Now, what are some of the like like some of their duties? Like
Yeah.
what are some of the expectations throughout these 3-4 month periods where like it's expected of them to do this, this, and this, or, read through this or study this, or, do they have to, teach a class,
Mm,
like, or do like a service back there in the youth? Like, what does
yeah.
that look like for them throughout the course of like this time frame?
Yeah, so I present the syllabus with the application so that there's no like gray area. I don't know that I did that the first time. Maybe I did. I'm tr- I feel like that was a long time ago. It was only 3 years ago, but we all know that timeline was really strange for everybody.
Yeah,
And so I think that I presented a syllabus even that first year, but that helps me be clear of expectations from the
yeah,
beginning. And it helps me whenever expectations aren't met, I can say, hey, you've known about this
yeah,
from since you signed up for this. Like, there's no reason we shouldn't have had a conversation about why this is or isn't happening, which I'm not avoiding your question. I just want to say something that I think is really important for anyone who works with young people. What I feel like I'm providing in that moment is a safe place to fail,
yeah,
because not everywhere is safe to fail.
yeah,
There's lots of places in the world, in the workforce, in families, in school, that is not safe to fail.
yeah,
And so I'm working on, hey, here's the expectations. You didn't meet those. That's a fail. Let's talk about how that happened and how we can prevent that in the future.
yeah,
And that's something that providing that information on the front end has really been helpful to
yeah.
guide those conversations. But some of those expectations include, like I mentioned, a study. It's usually a 5 week, and we meet in person with a book, a workbook, a study book, a journal, whatever that looks like. And we just get together. We dive into the Word. We dive into the challenges that we face as Jesus followers and what the Word has to say about that.
Hmm.
This past year, we went through a book called "How Not to Save the World," and really the background idea of that is Jesus is the only Savior.
Yeah,
We are just called to love and to work His goodness
yeah.
in this world. Like, we don't save anybody,
No.
because so many people have this superhero complex of, well, I could save that friend, or I could save my mom, or I could save that um, boyfriend, girlfriend. Like,
Or even whenever it does happen, they say, "Oh, I led this person to Jesus."
yes,
You may have presented something,
yeah,
but the Holy Spirit had been working in
yes,
that person's life for quite a while.
that's right.
Jesus was the one that answered the door
Yep,
whenever they came knocking, not you, not
that's right.
anybody else.
Yes. And so to me, that felt like a very important book to go through, because it is easy
Yeah.
to look at our own good work and pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah.
Whenever Scripture says time and time again, our good work points to a good God.
Yeah.
And so that book was really, really useful, helpful. I think it gave a lot of good insight. Um, and so we worked through that. And then the next month, we did schedule students to teach.
Hmm.
Not every person is a teacher. Teaching is a spiritual gifting. We
Yeah.
see that. But it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to lead, to see something new, to try something new. Um, we had a student who got really uncomfortable with the teaching concept. So that student and I co-taught, which is fine. That's a fine thing to do.
Yeah.
That's not a big deal at all. But it was a really good learning experience to say, hey, you know what? I didn't know that I was not going to be able to do this on my own.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Again, a safe place to fail, a safe place to find out. And when I say the word fail, my mindset is not like, oh, you're done. My mindset is like, hey, this is a fail forward. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't meet the mark. Let's move forward. Like, let's move
What can
on.
we learn from this and
Yes.
grow?
Yeah. And so they do the teaching, and then usually that kind of brings us to summer. Once we've kind of gone through that, a lot of times we'll have like a Bible study on like the Bible app that we'll do just virtually together in the mix.
Yeah.
And then once we get to summer, I have them host some type of event. They're really the mind behind what happens. This past summer, it was Camp at the Lake. The influencers team came together. They created the worship experience. They created the evening response experiences, like the special elements.
Yeah.
Um, whether that was a prayer experience, like they created a prayer experience for everybody. They created a worship experience where the whole group of students helped together write a worship song. And that was really unique. I'd never seen
Yeah.
anything like that before. And it was so cool. We got it on video. And I was like, I would worship to this. Like, I
Yeah.
was worshiping to it. Like, as they're just writing this song. And one of our students who plays guitar was just Jimmy Falloning like the crap out of this song.
Yeah.
Like, just, hey, we're going to make this work. It was so cool and so special. And that happened because these students have been taking what they've been learning and making it real and doing it for others. And it just was so cool.
Yeah. Now, there's got to be some standout moments that you see because of this. Some moments that you just say, and you look back and you're just watching this interaction or something that's going on between one of these individuals that's a part of this program, and you go, man, I'm so glad that I listened to God and while I was in my pool drinking my virgin daiquiri.
Yeah, just like chilling and crying, watching Hamilton over and over.
Yeah. It's there's got to be some moment, like a standout moment, or maybe something that pops in your mind where you go, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know that anything that I could have done maybe had this connection with this other student who's not a part of the influencers,
Yeah.
but because of like their friends being up there, like they have been persuaded, or kind of like not persuaded, but like kind of coached and
Influenced.
encouraged, influenced.
I mean, that's really
I was trying not
where
to
we-
use that word.
No, that's where we come
Encouraged
from with it.
to grow deeper in
Yeah.
their walk with the Lord. Like,
Yeah.
is there any kind of moment like that just kind of stands
Yeah,
out for you?
I can think of two in particular. While I tell one, would this be a good time for me to bring my casserole to the table?
Yes.
Is this okay? Okay. My casserole today is very unique. I'd like to invite my casserole to the table while I share. So, one of the things that I think of is last summer during state youth camp, there's a student leadership team that leads at that camp. And as the student leadership team was working on a project, there was a separate prayer journey event that was taking place. And during that prayer journey event, the student leadership team, in their wisdom, came to me and said, we just can't do both. Like, we're getting stretched too thin. Like, we can't do both. First, I want to say I commend them for doing that.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of people will just push until they burn. And they were like, we're going to not do well if we have to stretch. I said, thank you for telling me. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
And so we had a couple students on the campground that I asked around. I said, hey, ask leaders, hey, do you have leaders? Do you have any students of influence in your group that I could, use for this prayer journey experience? And they give me some names. I said, okay, I'm going to talk to everybody. I want to see them after lunch. And so I go around, and I had a list of like 12 or 14 names. And I went around and asked all these individuals. I said, meet me after lunch at this location. We need to talk about this opportunity. And of those 12 or 14, this is just how it goes in the world. Of those 12 or 14, 6 showed up. And of those 6, I think 4 or 5 were students from our influencers group.
Yeah.
And for that, just to see that, part of it was probably because it was me who was asking. Like, let's just be real. Like, they're like, if we don't do this lady, we know her.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is they really were hungry for opportunities.
Yeah.
Like, they really were like, oh, I have an opportunity to provide a prayer experience for others. Like, yeah, I'll do that. And that just really stood out to me. That was a moment that I was like, okay, something's happening here. Like, because all these other students who people were saying, and I don't want to sound negative towards other students. That's not how I feel at all.
Yeah.
But others were asked to be a part of this opportunity and just didn't show up. It was a really cool thing that happened. It was really special. And a lot of kids, their eyes were opened by the Holy Spirit, and it led to hours of testimony and open prayer. And it started with the kids who said yes to an opportunity.
Yeah.
And to see so many, I think every single one of the kids that was an influencer with us was at that and a part of that. And I was really, really impressed and pleased, and more than anything, just blessed to know that I had a small part to play in that moment of life change that happened, not just for our students, but for many who were attending that camp.
Yeah.
It was really cool. So my casserole today.
I just want to welcome you to your first ever podcast. Welcome. And we had a human casserole.
You can't say human casserole. I said you can't say that. Do you remember me saying that?
Don't tell me not to say anything.
Dang it. Okay, so this another thing that I think of is I think of this guy right here. This is Ryan Smith. For those of you who don't know, Ryan Smith is interning with me this summer. He is going to college at West Virginia University, and he's home for summer break. And he could be doing anything in the world, but instead he's going to a water park today to make sure
That's why there's parrots on my shorts right now.
Yes,
because we're
parrots
going
on
to
the
Ace
shorts.
Adventure.
That's not your normal look. That's not your
No,
everyday.
no, the Crocs are, but not the shorts.
Oh my gosh. So one of the other moments that comes to my mind, because Ryan was part of our first group of influencers, and Ryan's story with youth ministry was interesting because he was a really
Yes.
quiet little guy, and I think we took him to a camp experience, right?
Yeah, I didn't talk to anybody in the church at all. I just showed up and was there, and then I went to. It was state youth camp, but they did camp at the beach,
Yes.
and then this little place called Pollard's Chicken.
Oh boy.
We went there, and I really didn't want to go, and I screamed that I didn't want to go, and now here I am. So
The first time I've ever heard him say anything loud in any way was him screaming, "I don't want to go into this chicken joint." Like
there was
it was
an
very
off-brand Thor
yeah.
mopping the floor and
Off-
pros walking around in the store.
Yeah, it was a
Um,
sketchy place.
yeah,
But we were hungry and I thought it would be fine. But these kids fought back at me.
it's like the first time anyone in that van had ever heard me speak about anything at all. And I'm screaming about how I don't want to go inside of Pollard's Chicken.
So if you've ever been to Virginia Beach and you get hungry, look up Pollard's Chicken because that's where
It's
we were.
probably delicious, but I didn't think so at the time.
Yeah, it was looking super sketch. So that was kind of Ryan's evolution in the youth ministry. But as we kind of got to see him get out of his shell a little more, we presented this opportunity, and he was one of the applicants. Like Ryan applied.
I was the one that was worried about social media.
Yes. He was like, "You're not going to make us create a social media account and update it regularly, right?"
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so Ryan had come through 2 years of the program, and then he graduated. But this past year, he came home from college on a weekend that we went to a convention. And during that convention, Ryan had the opportunity to pray with a student as that student accepted salvation. And that was one of those moments. Oh my gosh, I feel my tear ducts right now. That was one of those moments where I saw something come really full circle. Like something where a student who was literally what Ryan said, just showing up, to being a student years later. And that's the thing about discipleship, it's years. I think a lot of folks want it to be a quick fix. They want it to be a Bible study. They want it to be a 6-week class. It's just not. And so years go by, and then we see this opportunity. You know, I'm the youth pastor, but I'm not the one praying a salvation prayer with a student that day. It was Ryan. And that was a really special moment for what I believe God was leading us towards with influencers. It was really cool.
Yeah, that kid now, he like he's a regular at every event we have, and we just recently had an event here where we did, like, I talked about testimonies, and we had some kids share, and he shared his, and that is his testimony. Like, he got saved when he was 16 at state youth convention with me, and that's the beginning of the, like, that's the end of the story up to now, I guess.
Yeah, that's his
So-
transformation moment.
Which was pretty. That's where it came full circle for me. It was
Yeah.
like 2 weeks or last week or something.
Yeah,
So
It's pretty cool. And so, like, while I have Ryan up here, he is my Nana's Casserole. For those of you who have never joined us before, I am Nana. And and when I come on the potluck, I like to bring a little casserole. You know, Nana never comes over with no
human
dish.
casserole.
Yeah, no, not the human casserole. Dang it. Anyway, so usually I bring some fun facts or some trivia or something, but today I brought Ryan because we were talking influencers and discipleship, and I am just curious, Ryan, where are you at now in discipleship? Like, who is pouring into you? Who are you pouring into? Like, what does that look like for you, and what does discipleship mean to you now?
Um, well, at WVU, I am in a campus ministry called Chi Alpha, which sounds like a frat. That's what everyone thinks it is, but it's not. It's a campus ministry and it's made up of like small groups, and we meet like every other week or so as a big group. And like the people in that are really like I may have like read my Bible more than I ever have before with them because they just some of the people in that know more stuff about stuff
Yeah.
than you could ever think. Um, and yeah, I'm in a small group in that, and I think it's because of the influencer thing that I had the opportunity to do leadership here and lead stuff. Is that I'm already a small group leader in that, which is not very common for freshmen to do. But so next year I'm going to be a small group leader for that program. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Um,
You're just floating. Your
but
microphone was just floating away.
but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with discipleship. And then obviously while I'm home for the summer, like you and other like the church staff here, and then the youth too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like never count out what they have to say.
That's true.
Because they are very smart.
Yep.
And nobody knows it. So
That's true.
yeah.
You think of anything? That was the end of my casserole. Thank you, Ryan, for being
Okay.
here. You're the best.
Thank you.
Give it up for Ryan,
Dude,
everybody.
high five.
Woo!
Fantastic. Yeah, it's been amazing just having just the sideline view of what's going on in his life, and
Yeah.
being here for a couple of years, and he was part of one of the influencer rotations since I've been here, but then also seeing him go off and having conversation about what the Lord is doing in his life while he's at college. Because let's be honest, like so many times, people or young people go astray whenever they get to college.
Yeah.
Especially whenever there's no family or there's literally not anybody keeping track of what you're doing.
Yeah, right.
So you could literally go to class and just sleep all the way through the weekend, and that's being tame about it. You know,
Yes, right.
like you can go like way off the deep
Yeah.
end, especially whenever there's not a whole lot of accountability.
Yep.
But I think because of the influencer program that you have and the discipleship that you went with him, and talking to him about the importance of this relationship with Jesus, is so whenever he did, and let's be honest, he's got great and fantastic parents.
Yeah, right.
But he had to make that decision, and I think it was just
Yeah.
a combination of a lot of things
Right.
that just led to him understanding the importance of having a relationship with Jesus
Yeah.
and maintaining that relationship,
Yeah.
and being accountable for everything that you do, because
Yeah.
there's nobody there making you be accountable.
Yeah, and that's just another huge aspect of discipling young people is kind of teaching that your faith journey is your responsibility.
Yeah.
Because we have students who come from divorced homes. We have students who come from parents are not affiliated with Southridge. We have students who have both parents here serving regularly. We have students from. I mean, it's all across the board.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I think that works is because we don't the pressure. I don't know if the pressure is right. The responsibility of your faith development is not on your parents.
Yeah.
It's not on your grandma. It's not on anybody except for you.
Yep.
And your personal development with Jesus. And I think part of that personal development comes from community. It comes from spiritual disciplines. It comes from being a part of something bigger than yourself, like not making life about you. And those are some of the things that I really try to lean into whenever we do these sessions. Because at the end of the day, I think it's a 9-week session. I don't know. My brain is foggy. It's the
Yeah.
end of the week, remember? I could sing this whole thing.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, like, that's just a very small portion of their life.
Yeah.
And so we try to do our best to make it meaningful. We expect them to be at almost every single thing on that syllabus. If they're not there, we should know why.
Yeah.
I try to be very clear about that, so that we can really see them grow in development. I almost forgot about this. We start this semester off with something really fun because we do put a lot on their shoulders. We start the term off with just a fun weekend away with just those students. And the last couple years, we've been taking them to a camp that another local area of churches puts on. And so we've been taking them to that. And I love that because they're not in charge of anything.
Yeah.
They don't oversee anything. They are just purely there to grow together and to grow in the relationship with God. And then the hard work starts.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, hey, let's build a little bit of rapport with each other and let's see where we're at with our relationship with Jesus, and then let's get to work.
Yeah.
And so that's been really cool too.
What does the future look like for the influencer program?
Yeah. So right now, I was just talking with Cheryl yesterday. I'm looking at our 2023-2024 student calendar, and that includes influencer information because I like to release information in October so that they have October, November to register, to sign up to be a part of it. We close applications on December 1st, period. There are students who are here that are still a part of our ministry because I love them deeply that have missed that deadline and they were not a part of our application program. Because if I don't take this to the seriousness that I feel like the Lord has put on my heart,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm doing what God is asking me to do.
And you're not going to get the results out of
Yeah.
it that you want to see.
Yeah, and so like some of those things, they're hard lines. There are some things that are hard lines. This past year, we actually made cuts to the program because my personal conviction with the influencers program is it needs to be a number small enough that can fit at a kitchen table and share a meal together.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm not Jesus Christ, and 12 people is just too many for me.
Yeah.
So our number is sitting at 6 right now. And so we had 3 applicants we had to turn away, but we gave them goals, and we talked about like still where they're at. They were given, the students who were on the team were given information to help mentor and reach out to those students periodically to see where they're at. Because just because someone didn't make the team doesn't mean that they're not a valuable player.
Yeah.
They're still very valuable. They have lots to go, lots to give. And I don't want them to feel like, oh, I didn't make the team, so now I'm out. That's so far from the truth.
Yeah.
Again, safe to fail.
Yeah.
That's where it's just creating that safety net of like, hey, you didn't, like, this mark wasn't met, but that doesn't mean you're dropped from the team, essentially. Like, we still care about you. Those students have been so huge. Like, I think about those 3 that did not make it to the influencers this past term. They still have been huge in our ministry, just gigantic at times. And that's because in my personal observation, it's because we still invest in them. We still believe in them. They're not a part of like the 5-week study, but
Yeah.
they're still a part of doing ministry and discipleship.
Well, especially if they're like maybe like in like a 10th or 11th grader, and you're still going to have them around.
Yeah.
You want them to be able to feel like they could still hopefully apply
Oh, for sure.
next year,
Yep.
and maybe over the course of the year, the criteria is met,
Yes.
and it's
correct.
easier for them to be able to make this happen.
Absolutely.
So-
Because sometimes it is due to just, hey, you're just not quite there yet. Or sometimes it's just, hey, we're full, but you're next on the list.
Yeah.
Like that kind of mindset. And that's okay, because I think that that's just very realistic.
Yeah.
One of my feelings about it all was, you can ask Paul, my husband. I was like, I don't know if I can cut kids. Like, I thought I could, but now I don't know. And he was like, what do you think the right thing to do is? And I was like, well, I think the right thing is to give a few the discipleship attention that I feel like God's putting on my heart. He's like, then God will take care of the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And he has. Like, God has just totally met those students, and I've seen them change. Like, one of the students in particular, when we were at camp at the lake, they said with their own mouth something happened to them. It was just bad. Like, not bad, but just like, oh, I can't believe that happened. They said, if that would have happened to me last year, I would have been a basket case. And I said, yeah, I know. You've really grown a lot. And they're like, I have. I can tell. And they're not even a part of the team this year, but they're students who we care about deeply, and we know that they are interested in discipleship. And so we're keeping that on the radar. Like, that's not going away.
Well, it's a trickle down effect as well. So, yes, you're trying to mentor and disciple a whole group of 40, 50 kids, or however many numbers that it's up to now. But it's a trickle down effect. And so, yes, you're doing kind of like what church is, but also you're also taking some people into having just like a little bit more intimate conversations and relationships and walking them through this disciple process. But in turn, what's happening is that those influencers are having a better impact at reaching the whole, like the group as a whole, as opposed to just one person. It's very, very, very similar to what you see in Exodus with Jethro approaching Moses and is like, dude, you can't do all this by yourself. Like you're trying to do all this for 1.5 million people.
Yeah.
He's like, you just need to find some people that's going to help take this load off of you so you can get moving in the right direction.
Yep.
Because they would walk around the wilderness. They'd park it in a location for a while, and Moses would have to deal with literally
all of
1.5 million people's problems.
Yes.
Disputes, arguments. So he took this, he said that, she did this, and it's like you just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
But what's happening in a spiritual side of things is you are followed that mentality of, yes, I could do all of this, but for me to have a lasting impact, I've got to bring other people on board to help take care of all the things and walk these students through to where we can continue to move forward. And we're not just parked in one spot for months and months and months while we try to figure out and address all these other issues and walk people through these situations that or questions that they may have. I think it's incredible. It's amazing. I'm excited for just for the future of what the youth ministry looks like, because I think that over time, I think what you will see is that if you have somebody that goes through, and this is just what the Lord feel is putting on my heart to tell you right now, is that if you have somebody that goes through the program 1 year, and they make it a second year, the second year people are starting to work with the 1 year people.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like a step down. It's like, and then maybe that's part of their responsibility is they're working with like the 2 or 3 year people are working with like the first year people.
Yeah, it's good.
And then then what's the next step? You know, it's one of those things like, hey, you've been through this. You understand the expectations.
Yeah.
Like you understand how hard it is, so you can empathize with maybe somebody who maybe doesn't meet a deadline or something like that, and you can coach them through it. And then, it's like what?
Yeah.
But
back to the singing.
Yeah, back to the singing.
No, it's so good, and it's so cool because it's such a in just when I look at it all, it is, what is the words that I'm looking for? It's like a ghost in our youth ministry.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's not, these students aren't on a platform We don't do like social media posts that say, "Hey, let's celebrate our influencers." Like,
Yeah.
and that may change. I don't know. That's just a personal. I actually had a really deep conversation about it with our high school intern when they were on. They're like, should I make a post about, we just got our new influencers team. They just did this or they did that. And I'm like, something in my spirit doesn't love that. And I don't know what it is. And I'm still kind of like, all right, God, like, what is this? Because I want to celebrate things that are going on. But I don't like yacht club mindsets.
Yeah.
And that's not what this is, which is
Yeah.
why I'm really passionate about making sure that we're clear in that it's a discipleship program more than a leadership program, because leadership will naturally fall from discipleship.
Well, you got to look at Jesus' model.
Yeah.
Like whenever he called the disciples, he just said, drop everything and follow
Yeah.
me. And that's not necessarily what you're asking them to do. Hey,
Right.
just move out of your parents'
Yeah.
house, quit school,
Yeah.
and let's go through this. But it's a huge sacrifice.
Yeah, you
It-
might
it-
miss a ball game, or you might not get to go to that Friday night show, or you might not get to
Yeah.
like, some of that has happened. And some of that, if we can work it out, like, cool, we'll work it out. But sometimes it's like, no, this is a commitment you've made. And if you miss it, you're really missing it.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to see our whole, like, the youth ministry as a whole. I mean, a student might correct me if they need to. I'm not seeing other students be like, oh, those guys are know-it-alls, or those guys are like, they just run this place, like, in a
Yeah.
negative sense. It's very, I try to really keep it in a way that, like, we're servants first.
Yeah.
Like, that's our role.
And
If
we're
we're
not-
going to be like Christ.
Yeah, we're not called to make followers.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
called to make disciples.
Yep.
And while I think there are unique ways that you can celebrate them,
Yeah.
it's just like you just
I
have to
know.
understand, like it's
Yep.
it's work.
We're searching it out, man. And it's
Yeah.
constantly learning. And I have not perfected it. I am far from it. Like, I miss deadlines. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
guys, we were supposed to have a meeting today. And they're like, we were? I'm like, forget about it. We're all just going to forget that we had that. We're going to ignore it. We'll meet next week, or we'll do whatever. And so there are times where I'm like, look, you guys, I'm not getting it right all the time either.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest about that, because I believe that's what discipleship looks like. It's being honest about your life and what's happening. And I just have seen a lot of good come from just purely being honest in life, and saying, hey, we missed the mark
Yeah.
as a whole. And what are we going to do about that?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just been cool.
I'm excited. I'm rooting for them, and I'm
Yeah.
constantly praying for the ministry of anything that's happening here at Southridge Church. But just praying for just for it to, like, I love it whenever you can see it click in
Yeah,
someone's
man.
life, like they finally get it, and they're like, man, I need to go really deeper with my relationship
man.
with Jesus,
Yep.
and not just like this surface level stuff.
Yep.
Like, I mean, that's just the best way to follow Jesus is to really, really, really get to know him.
Yep.
And so that's one of those things. All right. Are you ready for a mystery meet? I sang it for
So
you.
ready.
It didn't
And
sound
I'm not on the worship team.
for a
You can tell.
reason.
Oh, but I do love to sing. So
Oh, this is a
it's
good one.
Good time.
What's your go-to cereal?
Go-to cereal. Okay, dang it. Why do I have to be Nana? Because this is not good for me. This is not going to work out in my favor. My favorite cereal, like, if I'm just buying cereal just for me, I'm not sharing with anybody else.
Yeah.
Raisin Bran Crunch. I love it so much. I love the raisins. They're like a chewy little treat. And then the crunchy, like, it's almost like Honey Bunches of Oats clusters.
Yeah.
And the flakes, it hits all the marks for me.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's very
It's not
30
exciting.
It's not very 30-year-old age range friendly.
Well, I thought you were about to say like something like grape nuts or something like that.
I have not disliked grape nuts. Like, I've eaten them. They kind of taste like hamster flakes, but that's fine.
How do you know what hamster flakes taste like?
I don't want to talk about it. Anyway,
Go-to cereal. So I have two. And 90% of the time, it's Honey Bunches of Oats with almonds. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. I could eat that. The only, like,
dude,
there's...
it's those oat clusters.
It
What
is.
is it about them?
Dude,
They're
they just
so
need to
good.
make a Honey Oats clusters,
Oh my
Oats of Oats,
gosh.
with oats clusters. Like, if they just made a cereal of just those little, like, those honey clusters, those honey
They
bunches
sell them.
of oats,
Okay, they
those
sell it.
honey bunches of oats, if they just made a
Some
cereal,
people's kids.
if they made a cereal of just the bunches of oats with honey on them.
They're so good. They sell those because I've put them in yogurt before. Like in
Yes.
bags of like oatmeal cluster or oat clusters.
Yes, they do. Yeah, you put them in Greek
I've
yogurt.
never
It's-
put them in a bowl by themselves with milk, and I think that my time is coming.
Dude, yeah. No, I'm
Ooh.
going to Kroger after this. That's what I'm going to do for lunch.
Yum.
My wife's going to kill me. She's like, "You're going over the budget for food this month." But
It was oats on oats.
yeah,
what
I
am
know.
I supposed to do?
I didn't even buy milk. I used the church's milk.
I watered down the creamer.
Yeah. I just doubled up the half and half. Now it's just a full. But anyways, that's a math joke for all you people out there.
Oh boy.
But the other one is I can't eat it I can only eat it maybe once a week, but it's crunch berries. The only reason I can eat it once a week is because like I love it.
You
It
mean
just
Captain Crunch?
crunch
Like
berries.
the Captain Crunch berries?
Yeah, the ones with like the little yellow treasure chests.
Yeah,
and,
the ones
and-
that you should use when you're interrogating terrorists
yes
because it destroys their face.
destroys my mouth.
I don't know if I was allowed to
Always
say that on
get-
the pod, but that's what I feel like they should be used for. It's like, no, eat another bite and tell us where the bomb is. Eat another bite. Sorry, we've gone too far on the potluck. You can cut this.
Oh, please don't cancel us.
I meant like BALM, like lip balm, because it's cut up so bad.
I'm gonna have a fun time editing this
is
out.
a nervous laugh.
Well, we appreciate you so much for being a part of this episode today. We love you all. Thank you so much. Continue to pray for the youth ministry and the
Please.
influencer program.
Yes, yeah.
We'll see you next Friday for another episode. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and you can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.